Hello you guys, welcome back to the channel. So if you're new here, I'm Sarah. I'm trying to get my light figured out here. Anyway, so today I want to talk about 15 things that are keeping us broke. So generally, whenever we talk about being broke, people always talk about what we're not doing. Well, there's some things we're not doing and some things that we are doing. So I'm going to start out with the things that we're not doing as a general rule. One of them is not investing. And I know there's a lot of opinions on this. We all know that we should invest early, invest often, right? But a lot of times in the frugal community, what happens is people spend so much of their time, effort, and attention on the whole, like stepping over a dollar to pick up a penny kind of a thing. Like so much time and attention is invested in how to save 25 cents on something, how to save on whatever the case may be, groceries, how to get our expenses lower, that kind of stuff. And all of those are important. However, equally as important is what we do with those savings. So I think a lot of times the not investing, well, all the time, will bite us in the butt later on. So that's the first one. Another thing we're not doing is not actually knowing what our numbers are. A lot of people have no idea what even their pay is, right? Like what actually hits their account because they're not paying attention. They also maybe think that they don't have as much debt as they do, or, which would be even better, is if they, people thinking that they don't have that they have more debt than they actually do. And just not knowing what their numbers are and not ever sitting down and writing them all out, doing a budget. So they may think that they aren't making as much as they actually are. And they might also just be spending a lot because they didn't realize that this much money was hitting their account, or that they had $100 going to 15 different places for all kinds of subscription services, things like that. Things that we're just not paying attention to. And then also not making decisions. Not making decisions in advance. Like, for example, not deciding we don't borrow money. Not deciding I'm not going to borrow from friends and family. Not making the decision in advance that I absolutely will not have a car payment. Well, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. When you make all those decisions in advance, when you decide I'm not going to have a car payment, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do that, naturally, your next step should be, how do I avoid that? If I'm not going to have a car payment, I'm going to have to buy a car in cash. How do I do that? Which goes back to the know your numbers scenario, right? So that is really important in making those decisions in advance, so that whenever things arise, it's not even an option, right? You don't automatically think, oh, we're just going to put it on the credit card, or I'm going to have to borrow from grandma or Aunt Sally or whoever. It's just not an option. So in order for that not to be an option, you have to have some money in the bank, right? Or you have to have a backup. So that's the other thing. And another one is not delaying gratification. Like just automatically going on Amazon, purchasing the thing that you want to purchase now, instead of waiting maybe till tomorrow, or waiting, till next week. That also goes back to the know your numbers scenario. Can you even afford it, right? So delaying gratification sets a discipline that helps you be able to make these decisions. The next one is not being intentional with your money and your time. So where would this money best be spent, right? How can I make this money grow? If I set this money off to the side, what am I going to use it for? Is it going to be for vacations? Is it going to be, for a Costco trip? Whatever the case may be, but doing it with intention. doing the zero-based budget, right? To where every dollar has a name. And I know it's hard to start with, but it has made such a big difference in our whole finances doing that. Because that $12, the $8, or whatever that's not allocated, it has to be allocated. So you have to figure out where to put it. So it's a built-in accountability partner, and it's awesome. Okay, and then the other one is not realizing that we actually are in control of our finances, right? I know there's a lot out there about, what we were born into and all the circumstances behind that, how we grew up, all of that. And those are only good if we want to stay in a victim mentality. If we want to get past that victim mentality, we have to get to a point where we realize that we are the ones in control of this and nobody's coming to save me. I have to come save myself, right? The money that I put aside for, say, my retirement or my later years or whatever, that is the only money that future Sarah is going to have, that I will have in the future is what I send her, right? So that is very important to keep in mind. And the other one is not setting goals. I didn't set goals for a long time, and it's been semi-recently where I've started doing that. And there's something about writing something down, the all the information going from your brain out your fingertips on paper. There's something to that. And I know there's a very sciencey explanation, but without going into all that detail, just writing it down and posting it somewhere or putting it on the fridge or wherever, somewhere that you're going to look at it again, gives you that a little bit of accountability that's so important. So next I'm going to go into some things that we are doing, as far as before the last amount I gave you were things that we're not doing. These are things that we are doing. Okay, so thinking that you can afford something just because you can make the payment. This is always a bad idea. So there's a huge difference between people who are wealthy and people who are not. And people who are wealthy, even if they were going to have a car payment, say, just for an example, they would get past what the monthly payment is. Like, okay, the monthly payment, that's interesting. How much am I going to wind up paying at the end of this? And that, a lot of times, is a staggering number when you realize that when you're done making all those payments, a lot of times it's double, triple what you would have paid had you just purchased the item outright. And having debt, period, is such a thief. Debt is such a thief. It steals money, it steals your peace, it steals your freedom, it steals your sleep at night. And until you don't have any debt, you don't realize the significance of the carrying, the weight that you're carrying on your shoulders until it's gone. And then it's just it gives you choices not having debt. So another one is lifestyle inflation, and that's a big one. When you start making a little bit more money with each one of those raises, say you get a cost of living raise, right? So maybe you get a couple extra $100 a month, maybe $150 a month. And what we do a lot of times is it just gets absorbed, right? We have no idea. It just gets absorbed because who cares? It was 75 cents. The thing is when you accumulate that into a paycheck, it can become a pretty decent amount, right? So just a thought on here. If you're somebody who is always, say, borrowing money for gas or borrowing money for diapers, whatever, $50 here, $20 here, that money that you got for your cost of living raise, if you set that aside, you would never have to borrow that money again because you'd have it. Just a thought. Okay. The next one is being ish with everything. You don't really meal plan, you just kind of meal plan, where you just do a little bit of it, which everybody meal plans different. Sure, there's a million ways to do that to where it's effective for your family, but we also budget-ish, right? We may write down our expenses and how much we make, but we never revisit it. So we say that we have a budget, except for we don't. We don't, we're not sticking to that budget. We're not sticking to the plan. So that's what I mean by everything being ish. You know, we're just doing a little bit of it instead of doing it all the way. Another one is having it's only $2. It's only $7. Who cares? It's only $12. The whole it's only attitude, whew, that is a killer of your paycheck. Absolutely. It's death by 1,000 cuts. It's awful. And staying in crisis mode. If you always have these random bills come up that you don't remember, that you totally forgot about, they took it out of your checking account, you didn't remember it was even happening, you know, say it's Amazon Prime or your car insurance, whatever the case, and then because they took your car insurance out, say it's $500, $600, whatever, $100, because they did that, now you can't pay these other things that you have to pay, and now you can't buy groceries, and that's what I mean by crisis mode. Or you didn't realize that something was going to be happening at work where they're going to split your paycheck into 3 paychecks instead of 2 this month. Just, there is so many things that happen that we were either warned about or given a heads up on, and we don't register them because we don't really care at the time and we're not really thinking about it until it's just bam right in your face and you have to deal with it, right? That's what I mean by crisis mode. Avoiding crisis mode by knowing what your numbers are, knowing what days bills come out, knowing which one of your paychecks goes to which bills, all of those kinds of things. Avoid crisis mode. And also, speaking of crisis mode, one of the ways to avoid high medical bills is to be able to put some money, if it's offered. If not, a lot of times your bank will offer it. Put some money into a HSA, which is a health savings account. So you put some money in there. It's a tax advantaged account, and then they give you a little debit card. And then when you have a dentist appointment or whatever it is, they can swipe that card and the money comes out of that account, and it feels like it doesn't even come out of your pocket. So it's something to investigate. Check it out. I'm not the expert on it. You can look it up, do your own research on it. So, and the last one is borrowing money. And I don't care if this is on a credit card or for a car or borrowing it from grandma, borrowing it from your uncle, whoever it is. Deciding that you are no longer borrowing money is such a freeing thing because it forces you to come up with a plan before the situation ever happens, right? So those are the things that I want to talk to you about today because they've been on my mind, and I've been just going, how in the world do we keep getting farther and farther in debt? And a lot of this is why. And so I just kind of picked my own brain, tried to figure out what it was that was my issue. And I have done all of these, you know, and I'm sure most of us have. But having that, and I know a lot of us have heard these, you know, same things, or, you know, we hear them quite often, but they're worth repeating because they're true. And something that's not broken doesn't need to be fixed. But a lot of times we just need the reminder. So this is your reminder, guys. Know where your money is, be intentional, stay out of debt, all of those things. Be sure to try to save some money, put some money into retirement, yada yada. Anyway, if you enjoyed this, give it a thumbs up, and I will see you in the next one. All right, bye.